Do you know who I am?
No.
Well, if you were to guess.
Judging by your age, appearance, and a Marine colonel just followed your order without a yip, I'd guess you're some kind of high-level spook.
Your father and grandfather served. As an elite sniper, you have 113 confirmed kills and an additional 81 probable kills. Are those numbers accurate?
No.
Are the actual numbers fewer or greater?
Greater.
The scene opens up in a quiet forest. Then, the distant hum of a plane cuts through the silence. Drasa wakes instantly, her hand already reaching for her weapon. She watches as a man steps off the plane. Bang! A single shot. He falls. Just another day in her world. Meanwhile, Levi, a former Marine, jolts awake from a nightmare, the kind that leaves you staring at the ceiling. To clear his head, he heads to the beach. His phone buzzes. A text, report to the Marine Corps base. No explanation, just an order. At the base, Levi meets Agent Bartholomew. She's sharp, all business. She knows his record. Elite sniper, no family, no ties. Perfect for the job she's offering. It's vague, secretive, and exactly the kind of mission Levi can't refuse. In Lithuania, Drasa stands in a cemetery. It's the anniversary of her mother's death. Her father is there too, but he's not just mourning. He shares grim news. His cancer is untreatable. If he's still alive by February 14th, he'll end his life to reunite with his wife. Drasa is left speechless, but there's no time to process. Her life is about to take a sharp turn too. Months later, Levi wakes up groggy, strapped into a plane seat. The last thing he remembers is a needle prick. He asks the soldier next to him where they are. She was not authorized to answer it and collected his personal belongings before the jumps out of the plane. Levi steps into the open sky, free falls, and pulls the parachute cord. He lands safely, but the real challenge is just beginning. Ahead of him lies a grueling trek. Levi finally reaches the edge of a massive gorge, where he's greeted by soldier JD, who's been stationed here for a year. JD admits he doesn't know where they are either, just that it's remote, isolated, and shrouded in mystery. Together, they head to the West Tower, a self-sufficient fortress powered by solar energy and backed up by a generator. It's equipped with everything, including a rainwater system and a vegetable garden. Across the gorge looms the East Tower, but contact with its guard is strictly forbidden. The gorge itself is a death trap. Landmines and tactical barriers line the north and south, making crossing impossible. As JD shows Levi around, he lays out the mission. Every day, Levi must patrol the western rim, restocking ammo in the automatic gun turrets, spaced every 600 meters. He'll also need to check the containment fence, suspended mines, and cloakers, devices that scramble satellite signals to keep the gorge invisible. The radio checks in every 30 days, but there's no way to communicate back. In case of an emergency, there's a panic button that activates something called the Stray Dog Protocol, though JD has no idea what it does. His advice: if it ever goes off, run. JD explains the gorge's history, dating back to the Cold War. Military teams from different nations made a pact to keep this place secret, so secret that even heads of state and presidents don't know it exists. Levi's job is simple: keep whatever's in the gorge from getting out. It sounds insane, and JD admits he used to think so too, until he saw the creatures. The guards call them Hollow Men, and their eerie screeches echo from the gorge below. JD shares a chilling story. In the late 1940s, 3 horseback battalions were sent in to clear the gorge. None returned. Since then, the mission shifted from cleanup to containment. Levi's task is clear: hold the line, no matter what. After JD leaves the tower, he hikes to the pickup point. A helicopter arrives, lowering a rope. A soldier asks for his identity, and JD gives the password. But instead of a friendly hand, he's met with a bullet to the head. His body is dumped in the mountains. A month later, Levi has settled into his monotonous routine. He walks the perimeter, maintains the security systems, and checks in on the radio. The voice on the other end only asks if everything's fine, then hangs up before Levi can say more. One day, while tending the garden, Levi hears a loud noise from the East Tower. He grabs his binoculars and spots Drasa, cutting wood, alive and real. Another month passes, and Drasa decides to celebrate her birthday alone, but not quietly. Tired of the silence, she fires a shot to grab Levi's attention. She holds up a sign. "What's your name?" Levi writes back, reminding her they're not supposed to talk. Unfazed, Drasa replies with her name and declares she'll do whatever she wants on her birthday. Amused, Levi shares his name and raises a glass for a toast. Drasa cranks up music, dancing wildly, and dares Levi to join. He admits he's a terrible dancer, but a great sniper. Drasa teases him by shooting his water bottle. Levi fires back, hitting hers with precision. But the fun stops when Drasa spots movement in the gorge. Levi looks down and sees them, creatures that look like people made of trees, climbing the gorge walls. Without hesitation, Levi shoots one, sending it tumbling onto a mine. The explosion takes out several others. Drasa joins in, firing her machine gun. Together, they fend off the attack, but just as they think it's over, a creature reaches Drasa's balcony. She shoots it multiple times before kicking it off. The monsters then swarm her side of the gorge, forcing both snipers to fight back to back. Another explosion sends shrapnel flying, injuring Drasa's shoulder. The next morning, Drasa tends to her wounds, grinning, as she tells Levi it was the best birthday she's ever had. Levi heads down to repair the damage and replace the mines. But as he works, something unexpected happens. A drone emerges from the gorge and flies off into the distance. Levi watches it go, uneasy but unsure what it means. By December, Levi decides to bring a little holiday cheer to their grim surroundings. He decorates a tree in the forest with lights and puts up a sign for Drasa. From there, their bond grows. They build snowmen with each other's names, play chess, and even drum on makeshift pots. On February 14th, Levi notices Drasa crying in front of a family photo. He asks why she skipped patrol, and she admits she's having a tough day. She wishes he could be there with her. Determined, Levi gets creative. Using tools from the armory, he builds a contraption and fires a rocket across the gorge, attaching a rope. He then ziplines across, though he gets stuck halfway and has to pull himself the rest of the way. When he finally reaches Drasa's tower, he hands her flowers. She teases him about smelling awful, so Levi takes a shower before they share dinner. Over the meal, they open up about their lives as mercenaries and the toll it takes on their minds. The night ends with a dance and more, but by morning, Levi knows he has to return to his tower. As he ziplines back, the hollow men reappear, triggering a mine explosion that severs the rope. Levi plummets, deploying his parachute just in time. Drasa, seeing the danger, grabs weapons and a parachute, leaping into the gorge after him. Drasa lands in a river, her parachute snagging on a rock. She cuts it free, but the current slams her into a boulder, causing her to drop her auto-ascender. She barely manages to grab onto tree roots and pull herself to safety. Meanwhile, Levi hangs unconscious from a tree. A branch begins to move. It's not a branch, but a monster. Levi wakes just in time, shooting the creature while untangling himself. He falls, landing in what seems like mud, until it starts moving. It's the mouth of another monster, slowly closing around him. Just as Levi's about to be swallowed, Drasa arrives, guns blazing. She saves him in the nick of time. After Drasa carefully scrapes the sticky substance off Levi with her knife, the two start moving toward the gorge wall, hoping to find a way up. But before they can get far, the eerie screeching of the hollow men echoes through the air. Two of the tree-like creatures appear, riding horses that look just as twisted and mutated as they are. A fierce battle ensues, but Levi and Drasa manage to fight them off, though not without a struggle. Drasa checks her bag and realizes the auto-ascender is gone. It must have fallen into the river. With the walls too high to climb, they're trapped. Drasa suggests following the river. It has to lead somewhere. As they move, Levi examines one of the dead creatures and makes a chilling discovery. It's wearing an old military uniform. These hollow men aren't just monsters. They're the lost horseback battalions from JD's story, twisted by whatever lurks in this gorge. The duo presses on through the forest, passing hundreds of skeletons along the way. Eventually, they stumble upon an abandoned town, its buildings swallowed by mutated plants. The screeching grows louder. More creatures are coming. Levi and Drasa take refuge in a church, only to find it filled with skeletons seated in the pews. The smell of cyanide hangs in the air, a grim reminder that the people here chose death over living in this nightmare. Suddenly, a noise above catches Drasa's attention. She looks up to see a massive spider lunging at her. More spiders swarm in, and the two soldiers open fire, fighting desperately to hold them off. Drasa runs out of bullets, and Levi covers her while she reloads. Just as they make a break for the door, hollow men burst in. Drasa grabs a grenade and hurls it at the back wall, blasting a hole big enough for them to escape. They sprint into the forest, the screeching of creatures still haunting them. Realizing they're too exposed, they move closer to the gorge wall and find an old door. Inside, they discover a facility long abandoned and overtaken by the same mutated plants. Deeper into the facility, Levi and Drasa uncover its dark past. Skeletons litter the halls, and Drasa manages to power up an old generator, bringing the lab to life. Levi finds a tape and plays it on a projector. The footage reveals a scientist from 1946 explaining that this place was once a top-secret coalition of nations working on biochemical missiles during World War II. But 6 days before the recording, an earthquake caused a chemical leak. The toxin merged with the DNA of local plants and animals, mutating them. The scientists worked tirelessly to contain it, but prolonged exposure began affecting them too, evidenced by the woman on screen showing branches growing from her stomach. The gorge, however, kept the toxin contained, sparing the rest of humanity. In another room, Levi and Drasa find a modern computer, proving that people continued coming here long after the initial disaster. Levi powers it on and discovers the facility is now owned by Darklake, a private paramilitary corporation. The drone they saw earlier was collecting samples for Darklake's experiments to create super soldiers, the towers and hired guards, just a cover to keep the operation secret. Levi also learns the truth about the stray dog protocol. It's a nuclear bomb designed to sterilize the area in case of another leak. As they prepare to leave, Levi tells Drasa that despite everything, coming here was worth it because he met her. They open the door, toss a smoke grenade, and step out. But danger isn't far. A hollow man's whip lashes out, wrapping around Drasa's ankle and dragging her away. Levi chases after her, but the rider is fast, pulling Drasa through the forest. She tries to cut the whip with her knife, but crashes into a tree, losing her blade. She fires her gun, but the constant hits from rocks and logs make it impossible to aim. Levi follows the tracks, determined to save her, but instead stumbles upon the facility housing the nuclear bomb. Inside the facility, the hollow man has Drasa strung up, torturing her by twisting the branch lodged in her stomach. She grits her teeth, kicks him hard in the chest, and frees herself by untying the ropes. Grabbing a piece of metal, she fights back, but the hollow man overpowers her. A snake-like creature in his chest lunges at her, but Drasa refuses to give up. She decapitates the snake and hurls the metal at the hollow man. It doesn't do much damage, but it enrages him. He chases her around the room, slashing wildly with his sword. Drasa grabs bones to shield herself and lights a torch from a bonfire, using it to set her enemy ablaze. As the hollow man screams in agony, Levi bursts in and finishes him with a well-placed shot. Reunited, Levi and Drasa share a relieved hug. Levi examines the hollow man's uniform and recognizes the name. It's the first guard who once manned his tower. Armed with the creature's sword, they press on, eventually reaching the source of the initial leak. The room is a nightmare. Mutated creatures are trapped in a thick, pulsating goo, their faces eerily breathing within the toxic sludge. Levi and Drasa cross a shaky bridge, unnerved by the grotesque sights around them. Drasa accidentally steps on a root, and when she pulls her foot free, the goo-covered bodies begin to collapse, reaching for her. Levi swings the sword, cutting through the roots to save her, but the commotion wakes larger creatures, their roars echoing through the chamber. As Levi hacks through the goo to clear a path, a whip-like tendril grabs his ankle, yanking him down. Drasa doesn't hesitate. She fires a grenade behind them. The explosion ignites the creatures in the goo, sending flames ripping through the structure. Levi and Drasa sprint for the stairs, the inferno at their backs, and finally burst out into the open air. After escaping the fiery chaos below, Levi and Drasa search the town and stumble upon a garage filled with military jeeps.
I know how we're getting out of here. These old Jeeps have powerful winches. It'll work just like an auto ascender.
They connect a battery, jump into one, and speed off, driving until they find the broken rope from their earlier escape. Levi quickly ties the rope to the Jeep, while Drasa stands guard, firing at the hollow men closing in. When she runs out of bullets, they switch places seamlessly. With the Jeep ready, they begin ascending the gorge wall. At first, it goes smoothly, but soon they notice the hollow men climbing after them. Drasa kicks one off, and Levi takes over, using the sword to fend off the relentless creatures. In a desperate move, he stabs the Jeep's gas tank, climbs back up, and lights a flare, hurling it at the pursuing monsters. The flare ignites the dripping propane, causing a massive explosion that engulfs the hollow men in flames. With the top within reach, they cut the rope, sending the Jeep plummeting onto the remaining creatures below. Exhausted and injured, they climb the rest of the way to Drasa's tower. As they tend to their wounds, they agree to a 5-day quarantine to ensure neither is infected. They also make plans to escape to France together, but first, they need to destroy the gorge. They share a heartfelt kiss, and Levi confesses his love before using a grappling gun to return to his tower. The next day, during the radio check-in, Levi is surprised when Bartholomew answers instead of the usual operator. She's discovered the lab computer was accessed and suspects someone entered the gorge. Levi denies it, but Bartholomew deduces Drasa must be involved and orders Levi to kill her. He pretends to comply, but the call ends with tension thick in the air. Unbeknownst to them, the lab computer had a camera. Bartholomew knows both were in the gorge. She calls a commander, ordering a team to prepare for a mission to the site. The next morning, as Levi and Drasa prepare their plan, Drasa writes a message for Levi. "I love you back," but their moment is interrupted by the sound of an approaching helicopter. They grab their gear and bolt into the forest, knowing Bartholomew's team is closing in. When the soldiers find the towers empty, they deploy armed drones, sparking a high-stakes chase. The drones open fire, forcing Levi and Drasa to shoot back while dodging bullets. They take out the drones one by one, but not without sustaining injuries. Finally, they reach a vantage point high enough to execute their plan. Taking their sniper positions, they target the cloakers.
What the hell was that?
The mines they planted earlier trigger a chain reaction, destroying the cloakers and exposing the gorge. The stray dog protocol activates. A nuclear bomb is now counting down. Bartholomew and her team scramble for the helicopter, desperate to escape. Levi and Drasa run for their lives, the ground shaking beneath them. The bomb detonates, a massive explosion engulfing the gorge. The shockwave brings down the helicopter, killing everyone inside. Levi, caught in the blast, is thrown off a cliff into a river below. Drasa narrowly escapes, taking refuge in a cave to wait for Levi. A month passes with no sign of him. Heartbroken, Drasa leaves for France alone, starting a new life as a waitress. Then, one day, as she's working, she freezes. There, at a table, is Levi. He smiles, explaining it took him weeks to recover from his injuries. Overwhelmed with relief and joy, they share a long-awaited kiss, finally reunited. Well, that's the end of this recap. If you enjoyed this movie, consider subscribing for more interesting stories. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.